Welcome back to another episode of She Prints Africa, empowered by Printing SA and Impulse Radio Africa. Today we are joined by Mboko, all the way from Botswana. I'm so happy you made the time to join us, Mboko. Welcome to our show.
Uh, Thank you, Dimalang, Dimilani. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Dumelang. Amazing. So, Mboko, tell me, you've broken global barriers with Glotto, which is your fashion brand, the one that's behind you. Please tell me, what was the defining moment that pushed you to turn your Afrocentric vision into a movement?
The defining moment, I won't lie, was when I wasn't allowed to study fashion, finishing high school, and it became a rebellion and just a form of expression to prove to my parents that I can actually create a livelihood out of this.
Amazing. So, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself, your background?
Okay, so I am Motswana, but my tribe is Kalanga. And actually, the ability to speak Setswana, which links you to Sesotho in Lesotho and Sepedi in South Africa, and also speaking Kalanga, Ndolebeleka Chikalanga, which links to Chishona in Zimbabwe and Chivenda in the Limpopo region. I just found language as a beautiful instrument that connects Africans. You know, my two languages connects me to four other tribes. And I wanted my fashion and my, love for my Pan-Africanism to do the same thing, to be a medium that connects not only Africans, but anyone who is an enthusiast for the color, the print, the textures that our beautiful continent has.
Amazing. Your use of bold prints and organic textures stand out. I mean, I love that jacket. Earlier on, you told me about the zebra being a national animal in Botswana. What role does African storytelling play in how you approach design, print, and pattern?
It plays a very important role. So just from the name glotto, it's actually derived from the root word glottology, which is the study of linguistics, the study of your tongues. And like I said, I love the way languages connect each other. So I always use the African landscape. I always say Glotto is a brand that is inspired deeply by the fauna and flora of my continent. So the zebra stripes, the rugged textures of the soils on the Kalahari, the way that the river flows in the Okavango Delta. I just find it so beautiful. And it's just something that I really use in my everyday translation of what fashion is in Africa.
Amazing. I love how you translate the where you live and your environment in your expression and the way you design and the way you print. Now, let's get into a little bit of some technical stuff. What role has print played in the way you articulate yourself?
I think it's a bit of a side of like both swords because on one spectrum, I intentionally don't lean into the wax print, the latasi as we call it, because I think I was a bit upset at how when everyone thinks African fashion, they just immediately think that. And obviously the German print isn't even most of the time made in our continent. So I wanted to reclaim that and just so we're not boxed in this German print box and that we actually have different ways of showing print and showing, our fashion. So I think my print goes more in a more Afrocentric, Afropolitan, a more Afrofuturistic take at it, even though I will take hints such as the geography, just as the way the circular movement goes in. But I really like experimenting with a lot of dyes, botanical dyes, a lot of stains, such as the natural stains we see on our rocks, and of course, such as the animal patterns that we see, which is more of like a kaleidoscope of tie dyes as well, and a mirage of colors. So I'll kind of derive from what is the stereotype of print, but I'll dig deeper to what is in our environmentally the print.
I love that. You touched on using natural dyes. the role of sustainability is quite important, especially as young people. We're trying to, I suppose, live, I suppose, get our environment so that we don't litter or use sort of fabrics or prints that aren't biodegradable. Can you just get in more into that and tell me more into that? I know there was another show, a woman from Ghana, and she really expressed how she used natural dyes. I would love to understand from the Botswana side, how do you use that?
Oh, so from the Botswana side, yes, I know we're a semi-desert country. There's not much of vegetation, but we kind of dig deeper and literally use our sand, our soils. Artistically, they're called ochres. So this is basically using some natural oils, sometimes animal fat, sometimes oils, and you kind of get some soil, you ground it up, you use that to make a dye pattern. And then you can also go deeper and use botanical prints such as the marigolds, which is like the African yellow daisy. And you could get that as well, boil it up, strain it. So using botanical flowers that you find as well. And then I also have a fine artist that I love, actually based Tino. She's based in South Africa. She uses a lot of waste as well. So onion peels, orange peels. So you really can really get deep into it. So on top of using the soils, which is not new, because if you think of our African mud huts, our ancestors used to already use that. So you could dye your linen and your cottons with the soil, with daisies, botanical flowers, or with biodegradable vegetable waste as well.
And how important is that in your actual store or the way you do things?
It's quite important because at the moment we started off by using a lot of chemical dyes, but then I had to think to myself, is this going to be sustainable on a larger scale? Right? So, on a larger scale, if you're using a lot of bleach, where are you going to drain that bleach? We use a lot of boreholes, so we can't take it back to the sand. So, it forced me to actually say, okay, we started a few test projects where we're using a lot of marigold dyes because it's a wild daisy. It grows right by the road, and then we're using some soils as well. And then I want to also dig a bit deeper. The Mexicans have been using a lot of cactus to make a lot of dyes, to make some cactus leather. So I'm very excited to just keep on exploring this as well.
Amazing. So, Women in Print is about innovation, it's about visibility, it's about transformation. How do you see yourself as a print and pattern innovator in Africa's evolving creative industry?
I see myself as steadily growing. I see myself as steadily gaining the influence. I always say anything that deals with business and fashion is the business of selling. If I've already created such a large demand, for example, this print, mind you, this is a print that we just got zebra and then we had to ingrain the gloto within. Right. And you can imagine once we actually create our own roles, and now that we've proven the demand for this, we can actually go on into making more prints that we know are quite relevant. There's no use into making prints that won't sell. So I'm happy that I've already pushed the boundaries and showed people that actually it's cool to wear your stripes with pride. It's cool to actually mimic the animals that gracefully, go in the wild. So I love that. And for the first time, we've seen it happen. Robert Cavalli uses it all the time in terms of the runways. But it's very interesting to know that we can actually not only mimic these prints and these patterns, but we can also collaborate with a lot of the wildlife photographers. And, they're always out in the open and always publishing their pictures. And to me, if we can purchase some of those pictures, we split some IP rights. We take a beautiful picture of a butterfly and then I create a beautiful print out of it. We have more people and more African youth being employed by just one print. And that's the domino trickle down effect that I see with prints going hand in hand with the
I
fine
love
artists
that.
and the photographers. Yeah.
I love that because you even answered my next question, which was how can print and visual communication elevate African brands? And that's exactly that.
Yeah. Literally. It's from our lens, it's from our perspective. It's been there. Like I said, a lot of luxury brands have done that and flown to our continent, but it's always different when it's the custodians who tell their story. from their own lens.
Absolutely. So, as a woman leading an industry that intersects media, branding, and visual art, what lessons have you learned about representation and ownership?
Oh, I would say it's very, very important. As a woman, we are deeply and gravely underrepresented. It breaks my heart every day. It's that old age saying that once a hobby is professionalized, we kind of see the men take over. So if you look at the culinary arts, if you look at even fashion design, a majority, I think 80% of the creative directors are all male. So I would say it's definitely something that we in Glodo already do that. Our workforce of 12 people is already 75% women, but it's something that we just need to normalize the professionalization and commercialization of all this lady and woman based craftsmanship, because that is really what's important. You know, in the Delta, the people that are out there in the bush are the ladies because they're collecting the reeds, you know, they're collecting the basketry. So why not, you know, embrace them and make sure that they can have a camera while they're doing their basket weaving collection and they take pictures, and we know we just transfer skills because it's the means of transferring skills. So I think it's something that needs to be done. I think it's something that we need to actually highlight and make sure that in all the decision making rooms and roles that we at least have 25% women, because the higher you go, the less women you see. So I'm really just trying to make sure I bring a lot of women with me.
I love that. So, what advice would you give other African women who are crafting stories through design, art, or print, but haven't yet found their platform?
I'm going to say put it out there. I mean, to say put it out there because your digital imprint and your digital backdrop is what you can always count on. You know, I used to think all the editorials and campaigns I posted on Instagram made no use until I got a call from New York Fashion Week saying, hey, we're inviting you here to showcase for free. So you need to start documenting it. It shouldn't be all in our minds, and let's take more risks. I know it's a bit scary. As women, we're always trying to calculate if this is going to be okay. But let's just have the audacity of all the men. They just be audacious. So let's put it out there.
Yes,
And
let's
let's
take up
collaborate.
space.
Let's collaborate. The more women together, the more you can learn from them. The collectivism. You know, the men stick together. You know, it's a man's world. But I'd say the more women collectives you get, the larger of a voice and an imprint that we can make.
Amazing. So, what's next for Glotto? How do you see the future of African fashion aligning with the evolution of print and visual storytelling?
Oh, I love that question. What's next for us? We just came back from a beautiful trip in Rio de Janeiro, which Brazil, as you know, has the most black people apart from our continent. They carry the same dance, they carry the same rhythm, they love the same texture and print. So I think what's next is just for us to really hold hands and connect with these diasporic ties that we have, and to speak one language, hopefully in print, as we've already done in design. Gloto is working on making our own prints. I can't wait to come to the event in Midrand. I bought my ticket. I want to see all the printmakers in Africa to make sure that we can start on our IP protection. Definitely also making way for a Paris excursion as well as a Morocco excursion. So I'm excited to go up to Europe as well and up to Morocco and see what my brothers and sisters on top of the continent see print. I feel like they have done such a great job in not only protecting the IP, the fact that Morocco has a whole Pantone color based on a rich blue that the artisans created, and even their mosaic and the way they make their carpets, it's all a part of print. So I think it goes tie and tie, the universe is speaking. So I'm very excited just to make sure that we protect our IP and we create our own general authentic prints that can't be easily replicated in this world of fast fashion.
You are speaking my language. Mboko, so you said you're going to the Joburg leg of Women in Print. I'm so excited to see you. But would you be keen if Women in Print were to come to Botswana?
Yes, I will say like a speaker, bring it here. We need to bring it down because, like I said, we are known for our basket weaving. And to me, the basket weaving can be easily translated into a print. So it's something that we can tap into, guys. So please come through, come through. We're in the heart of Sadek, guys.
Yay.
The sun is right at the heart. Before you go to Zim and everywhere else, we are in the middle. Come to us.
I'm so happy. This made my day. Actually, each
Likewise.
interview makes my day. To be quite frank with you, each interview has its own uniqueness about its story and how print plays such an important role in your lives, in the economy as well. So, Mboko is not just about printing fabric, she's about printing identity, pride, and possibility. Africa's design voice is loud, bold, and unapologetically hers. And it's only just getting started for you, Mboko. Thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Hashtag blow the glow.